So now we're going to have a fun look at the second way of changing from pain to pleasure, and that is changing our thoughts. And our thoughts are often mixed up with facts. So we have to get clear about the facts before we can change our thoughts about them. And we often just mix them all up together, and that lack of clarity, that mixing up, doesn't help us find new thoughts that make us feel better. The facts are usually what someone else has said or did, the facts about the circumstances, just what happened. And our thoughts can be things like, you let me down, ignored me, you abandoned me, you attacked me, you interrupted me, you put me down, you haven't appreciated me, you've misunderstood me, rejected me, taken me for granted. So we could have lots of thoughts about what other people are doing to us. And we could have thoughts about ourselves, that we're a failure, that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. And all these thoughts, we don't separate out the facts from the thoughts. We think our thoughts are justified in that situation. We think our thoughts are the only thoughts you can have. In that example we keep using about our brother and sister changing our father's will, it seems to be that the only thought we can have about that situation is that they betrayed us and let us down. It doesn't seem that we can come up with a more pleasurable thought, because we're using the thought almost like a fact. We justify our evaluation and interpretation of the situation and say, well, that's the only way of seeing it. That's how our friends would see it. That's how other people would see it. So that is the only way of seeing it. We're not wanting to change our thoughts because we're wanting to be right and the other person to be wrong. It seems to be the easiest way. The way we're going to get any satisfaction is being right about our thoughts. But I hope this training and this course will help you see that maybe being wrong about your thoughts, maybe being open to having different thoughts about the situation would lead to a more pleasurable outcome. Separate out the facts. So the facts are at the top, and they're totally separate from our thoughts about them. Our thoughts about them are at the bottom. Our evaluations, our judgments, our interpretations, our perception of the situation is separate from the facts. And that's wonderful. That's great, because then we have another way of changing from having a painful experience to having a pleasurable one. We've realized in the last way of changing that changing the facts, changing the circumstances, changing the situation doesn't really work. So maybe changing our thoughts about it works. It gives us another option. It gives us another way of changing from pain to pleasure. What are the facts? So now what we're going to do is go deeply into one particular example and look at the facts about that situation, and then see if we can come up with a different, more pleasurable thought about the situation. What we have in this example is feeling uncomfortable around my husband on an evening when he's been drinking, and I've added in playing digital games all evening. You could put your own scenario in there, your own circumstance. What is it your partner's doing that makes you feel uncomfortable? Just put that in there to make it more personal. So what are the facts about the behavior? Maybe it is that our partner has nearly finished a second bottle of wine. That's being really clear about the amount they're drinking, rather than having evaluation that they're drinking too much, that they're behaving in an unkind way, that they're being unreasonable, that they're being selfish. Another fact there related to playing digital games all evening is my partner spent 3 hours without a break interacting with his tablet. So rather than all evening, I've taken it down to 3 hours, and just being more objective about what is happening. We're making clear observations without mixing in judgments. So let's look at what judgment has gone on to make us feel uncomfortable when our partner is drinking or playing a digital game. How else can you think? So the painful thought might be, I don't know how to communicate with my partner who's drinking. I don't think my partner respects me. Or it might be, I'm not worthy of attention. So we separate out the facts and then we become aware of the painful thoughts that we're having about the facts. And doing all that allows us the opportunity, it kind of opens the door to think what other thoughts could we have, what better feeling thoughts, what pleasurable thoughts could we have in that situation. We may have thoughts like, I can communicate I love you to my partner without even saying a word. It's really my energy, it's my body language, it's how I look at them that's communicating in that evening when they're drinking. I can communicate I love you to them in a way that doesn't involve verbal communication. I don't have to say a word for my partner to pick up that I'm communicating to them that I love them. They can pick up that I love them unconditionally, that their behavior doesn't have any effect on my love for them. Of course, if we're able to make that communication, that's a powerful communication, saying that you're lovable no matter what you do, that your behavior isn't what determines how I respond to you, how I see you, how I connect with you. Another pleasurable thought would be, this is a perfect situation to learn how to respect my true self. I feel worthy when I give attention to my inner life. Because all our attention so far, all our thoughts and evaluations are of the other person. And now when we see that we're doing that, we realize it's a perfect situation to learn about our inner judgments, our judgments about our true self, our judgments and thoughts about what we're doing to our inner identity. We're obviously disconnected to our inner identity. We're not respecting our true self. And we can only really feel worthy when we give attention to that. No matter how much our partner changes to drinking less, to playing less on their tablet, to spending more time with me, no matter how much they change externally to fit in with what I want, I'm not really going to feel better about myself unless I give some attention to how I'm disconnecting to myself inside.